All right, let's carry on what we're doing. So currently, when we play the game, you will see that it's mostly working at this point. So they will spawn, and they have the particles that pop up when they spawn. So now what I need to do is basically just get the other particles to work for the other things, because we were working on the particle manager. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the particle manager. Give it a moment. It's slow. Come on. Let's try that again. There it goes on the other screen. Okay, get out of here. All right, so you can see we have these different ranges for explosion and for bullet. So basically, I want explosion to happen when we are blowing up. So what I'm going to do is on the death thing, apply that. So we just did one for the enemy spawn. So what I'm going to do is actually copy that, because it'll just be easier since I already have the code there. So right here, I'm just going to grab this piece here, and I'm going to copy it. And then we're just going to apply it when the player dies. And actually, both of them have, they both die here. So I'm just literally going to put it where the health goes below. And they'll just have the same particles for now. Eventually, it might make sense to not do that. But so I'm just going to change it. Instead of spawn, it should be explosion. I'm just going to double check that that's the name of it. Explosion. And the location is not going to be LOC. It's going to be... let's try transform.position, and let's save that and see if we get the correct particles. I know it didn't work last time when I did it, but hopefully maybe it'll work with these guys. We shall find out. So let's go ahead and start the game, and I will blow up this guy, hopefully. Yep, that seems to work okay. Good, and it should also happen when I die. There we go. Look at all the explosions. That's great. Okay, so that one works good. So the next thing to do would be, let's see. What was the other one I did? I can't remember what it was. Oh, the bullets. So basically, when the bullets die, I need to have that happen, and I also need to happen. So let's do that first. So I'm just gonna have it when the bullets blow up themselves. I'm just gonna do it. So we'll do it with the bullet controller. And right here, we have the on collision enter. When it hits an enemy, it does this. So we're just going to also go to particle management, play particles, and I don't remember what I called it. It is called bullet. So we're just going to copy this, Control C and Control V, and we're again just going to send it our position of our thing here, and I'm going to copy that and put it for when we hit the enemy, and I'm also going to have it happen when the bullet dies. So we'll just go, you know what, let's do this. Let me see, wield. Let's do that. The may or may not work. Okay. Okay, let's go back here, and we should see, I don't know if we're going to see it because it's kind of a small particle effect. I didn't do a whole ton for that. Okay, so I don't even see it happening there, but let's see if it happens on these guys at least. Man, you can't see it. I think it's happening. It's hard to tell. Well, I'm sure it's happening. Okay, we'll say it's good. All right, so that's the particles. That looks pretty good. The next thing to do would be the sound effects, which is going to be a bit of a pain, but we're going to do something a little bit different for that. So what we're going to do is make a new script for that. So I'm just going to right click, create, C# script, and we'll call it the SFX manager. Okay. All right. And we're going to do like we did before. So I want to be able to call this from other things, just like we call the particle manager. So we're going to go ahead and make this a singleton so that we can access from everywhere. So static SFX manager, and we'll just call it SFX. Okay. And then we'll just say void awake, and like this. And we'll say SFX will be equal to this. Great. Okay, so now that's set up. Let me just put a little space in between. And what we're going to do is, this is going to be a little bit different than the other ones we did. So before we did, for our enemy spawn and our bullet spawn, we did an array. For our particles, we did a list. And for this one, we're going to do a dictionary. So a dictionary is sort of like a list and an array, more like a list. But the idea with this one is that instead of having, instead of accessing the elements inside of that, using an index number, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you instead have a keyword, okay? So a key that you use in order to make that function, okay? Okay, so, sorry, I had to deal with something. Okay, so, yeah, so it's going to use a key in order to access the elements in it, okay? So we're going to make a dictionary. It's sort of like a list. So first we're going to do is we're going to make one, and then we're going to instantiate it as well. So we're going to make it public so that everyone can access it. Dictionary. So it's got to have the keyword kind of like list. And then we have to give it the key and the type. So the key is going to be a string. We're going to use, words. And then the what it's going to hold are going to be game objects, like so. And then we will name it the audio clips. Okay, basically I'm going to use this for the sound clips. So yeah, that's what it's going to be. And then we just want to instantiate it. So we're going to do dictionary, and then it's going to have the same stuff in it. So game object, like so. Okay, so basically we declare the variable here, and then we make one of it. Okay, now like a list, we can just append these, which makes things a little bit easier. So this is going to hold basically our sound effects, because for the most part we're only going to need one at a time. So we don't really need to do like where the other ones where we did a pool. We're not going to do a pool so much. We're going to do all of it inside of here. So we're not going to really need the pool in the same manner. All right. Okay. So this is actually going to be relatively simple. So instead of putting all the sound effects in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the actual sounds. I'm going to attach them to various other objects and have them send their information to this, and then have this make the list based off of those objects that we send it. So what I mean by that is that I'm not going to go up here and just put a bunch of audio clips, like just declare a bunch of public audio clips, whatever, right? I'm not going to do this capital A. I'm not going to do a bunch of these, okay? I'm going to declare those on the objects themselves that are going to, but on the objects themselves, and that way, this will actually just expand for however many we need. So you'll see when we start doing it. It's a little bit confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a public function. Okay, so public void, and then we're going to call it, so we're going to have two functions. We're going to have one that plays the sound effects and one that adds them to our dictionary. Okay, so first we're going to make the one that adds to our dictionary. So you can look at this as like us creating our pool, but instead of this, instead of us calling that create pool that we normally do, we're going to have this do it because it's a little bit different. The pool just is one big array and uses the index number. This one has to create that dictionary with the keywords. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this, and so we're going to do add to SFX pool, and it's going to require two things. It's going to require two things. It's going to require a string, which we'll call clip name, and it's also going to require the audio clip, and we'll just call it clip. Okay. So what we're going to do is from the other function. So like let's say on the enemy when it spawns or something, I want it to make, or like when it blows up, I want it to make a sound. What I'm going to do is on the enemy controller or whatever, I'm going to put the audio clip and attach it to that, and I'm going to have it run this SFX, this right here, and it's going to add it to its pool. Okay. So so first we're going to do is this. We're going to say if audio clips dot contains key clip name. We're going to go ahead and say return. Okay, so basically what this is going to do is that if we call this function and we give it a clip name, and that name already exists, so for example, like I said, I might have the enemy controller send this thing its sound. Well, obviously, we have a bunch of enemies. If every one of those enemies tries to do that, they're all going to send the same clip name, right? It'll be like enemy explode. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, if I already have it, just exit. You don't need to add any more to it. So we're just going to call that good. So that way, this just works so that way when we have multiple objects all trying to send the same sound effects, it will basically ignore those. That's the whole point of that. Okay, so once we do that, then we can actually do the work. We're going to say game object G will be equal to a new game object, and we will call it clip name. Okay, so what this is going to do is the same thing as basically doing the, oops, got to be capitalized, instantiate. It's like doing that, and then what we do is instead of using a prefab, we're just making an object. So we're making a new game object. We're just going to call it G. And then the name of the object, we have object names like player or enemy or whatever. We're just going to use the clip name that we send it. So basically the clip name will be how we know what the name of it is. All right. So we're going to make a brand new object just using code instead of having to do it manually. This is the first time we've really done that. Then what we're going to do is we are going to audio clips dot add, and what we're going to do is and then we're going to add the so the audio clips is if you remember, that's our dictionary up here. So basically we're going to add this object we just named. We're going to add it to our dictionary. Okay, now when we add it, it needs to have those two things. It needs the key, and it also needs the object itself. So the key is going to be the clip name, which means when we want to call this back when we're looking for it, we're going to use that name. So it's going to be clip name, and then the object we're putting in there is going to be G, because that's the game object we just made. Okay, so that's just doing that. Then what we're going to do is do g.transform.setParent, and we're going to go ahead and set it to transform. What this is going to do is it's going to take the game object we just made, and we're going to parent it to the transform of whatever this is attached to, and we're going to attach this to a sound effects manager object. So it just means that we're going to make the object, we're going to add it to our list, our dictionary up here, and then we're going to also parent it to this. So that way all the sound effects are parented to the same thing. Next what we're going to do is we're going to add an audio source. So we're going to do audio source A will be equal to g.addComponent, kind of like get component, and the component we want to add is going to be an audio source because we need to be able to add sound. So first we're going to do, so we're going to go ahead and do it, and we're going to name it A, so that way we can access it to add the clips and stuff. So now we're going to say A.clip is going to be equal to clip, which is the sound clip that we sent it. Okay, so we're going to put our audio clip that we're sending it, and then we're going to go ahead and do A.volume. We're going to set equal to 0.25 F, which I don't think, let's do this instead. Let's do a public, float, and we'll go SFX volume, and we'll set that equal to 0.25 F. The reason I'm doing that is that way what it's going to happen is it's going to take all the sound effects. So SFX volume. I just want to make it because it'll allow us to basically make it so that we can change the sound, because sometimes the volume's too loud. This will just make it that volume. We could even do something where we actually send it a third thing that's a float. That's the volume, so that way we can actually have the sound itself say, oh, I want it to be this loud because it should be a certain loudness. That probably would even make more sense. Maybe we'll add that afterwards. I don't know. But and then the last thing we want to do is not have it play. So we're going to do play on awake, and we're going to set wake equals false. Basically, I don't want it to play by default. We're going to turn it off. All I'm looking to do is to make those objects and apply the audio clip. And so now whenever we call it, that's what it's going to do. All right. So the other thing we want to do is we just want to be able to play the audio. Okay. So this will add it to our list. And then the other thing we need to do is recall our list when we want to play something. So we're going to make another function, public void, and it's going to be play sfx. And what we're going to do is we're going to send it a string, and it's going to be the clip name. Okay. So basically, when we want to play an audio clip, we're going to call this function, and we're going to give it a clip name, which is going to be our key. So it'll say, oh, the name that's this, and then it will know which one to play. And all you're going to do is we're going to do audio clips. We want to give it clip name. So instead of a number, it's that key. And then we're just going to say get component. And then it's going to be the audio source component. Boom. And then we're just going to say dot play. And that's it. Voila. So now this is all set up. All we have to do now is actually send it our audio. Okay. So let's do one for the bullet here. So let's see. Make sure we don't run into any errors here. It looks like we're good. I guess we'll do. Hang on a second. Okay. So what we're gonna do is let's go to the bullet controller. Let's open that up. And what I want to do is I want to add the audio to it. All right, keep getting interrupted. Where was I? Okay, so yeah, we need to call the audio. So what I need to do is add the audio clip here. So I'm just going to go after this. We'll do public audio clip, and then we'll just say bullet sfx. We'll say death. I think that might be easier. Okay, so we'll have a death sound effect. That's good. And then what I want to do is, so we have on enable, on collision enter. So basically when this particle happens, and when this particle happens, basically when they die, I want to add that sound effect, or I want to play it. Okay, so we have the sound here. Oh, first I need to call it and add it to it. So we're going to do that first. So we'll do that. Let's do that on. Let's try doing that on start and see what happens. So start. And so what's going to be is sfx manager.sfx. And then we're gonna call that function the add to sfx tool. And if you remember, it needs two things. It needs a name. So we'll just call this bullet death sfx, because that's what it's meant to be. And then it also needs the audio clip itself, which was bullet, not solid, bullet sfx death. There we go. Okay, so those are two things. So that should call that function, and it should make it. In fact, actually, let's save this and see if we have any errors. Hopefully not. Let's see. Okay, so I need to make another empty object, create empty, and we'll call this sfx manager, and I'm gonna drag it into here, and we're gonna zero it out, 0, 0, 0. And we're gonna put our sfx manager thing in here. That's all fine. And then on the bullet, which is actually a prefab, so we're gonna open that up. And then what I'm gonna do is go to my my audio, sound effects, collisions, boing, crumble, death, explosion. What's bump sound like? There it is. We'll call that good. Okay, so we'll use bump. So I'm just going to go ahead, click select the bullet, and there's the audio clip right there. Okay, so that's got an audio clip. Now what I want to do is I'm just literally going to check and make sure that underneath this, it makes a parent. So it isn't going to actually work, but it should hopefully make the pool, if you will. So it did not. Okay. All right. Oh, you know why? Because we haven't shot it yet. So, crap. Okay. As soon as we shoot, it will, because technically the but the bullet doesn't exist yet. There it goes. Okay, so now I'm going to pause it, and you'll see non-particle right here. There it is, the bullet death sound effect. Okay, so it did make it because the bullet doesn't exist, so it's never being made until, which kind of defeats the purpose of some of this, but whatever. So we have that going. That's good. So it adds it to it. So now what I want to do is now we want to play it. Okay. So what we're going to do is on the collision entry here, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to do sfxmanager.sfx, right? Yep. .play sfx, and we have to give it the keyword that we want to play, which is just going to be the bullet. It's this thing right here. It's got to be the same name that we told it to make it with. And and then semicolon. And I also want that to happen. You know what? We'll only have it happen if it hits somebody. Otherwise, we'll have no sound. So now I'm going to hit play, or I'm going to save it. And I'm going to turn my audio back on as soon as this is done. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not, but I will, and I'll know whether it worked or not. So I'm just going to try shooting and see what happens. Alright. I don't know if it's working or not because the freaking stuff's so freaking loud. Music volume. Let's do 0.1. Might be working, might not be working. Okay. Oh yeah, it's working. Okay. Okay. And so we just need to do the same thing for basically any other sounds that we want. So it should be relatively simple. So let's do one for the player exploding, right? So actually, so we'll just do it for both for the health script. So I'm going to open up that health script. And it's just going to need the same things that we just did. So I'm actually going to go to the bullet controller, and I'm just going to steal from it. So first we need our audio clip. So I'm going to steal that, go to health here, and right at the top after this, we'll go ahead and paste it. So I need a public audio, and we'll just call this, we'll call it player death, because I'll just do for the player. So player sound effects death. And then what we need also is this part here where we're going to send it. We'll just grab this whole start because I don't think I'm using the start there. So I'm going to grab the whole start function. Let me see. Sound effects manager. Not there. Where was it? Health. Here we go. And then, yeah, because we don't even have a wake here. So start. Okay. So same thing. Sound effects manager. Sound effects. Add to pool. And in this case, we're going to do player death sound effect. And we're going to send it this thing. Control C. Control V. So not B player, but player sound effect. Okay, good. So basically, then what we're going to do is we're going to send it our sound. And we're going to give it a key name. So when we want to call it, we just use that. And then all we're going to do is that when we die, we're going to play it. So again, I'm going to go back here to where we play it, which is this part right here. Just copy that. Go to the health. And we'll go to the player here. And we will paste. And I'm going to also do this for the enemy. I would switch these out and just do another one for enemy, whatever. But no, actually, let's not do that one yet until we do the right sound here. So it's this one right here. Control C, and then I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, then we'll take this. Control C, Control V, and then we'll save it. Okay, so basically we're just saying, hey, play that thing. That should be good. Because we could also just put it right underneath here and not make it for the players. Because we could have different play particles too and put those underneath one of these. But just because in case I want to switch it later, I can do enemy death SFX. Okay, so save that. Go back here. Hopefully no errors. All right, and then what we want to do is on the player here, we're going to go ahead and go to our effects, not God bless it, audio, sound effects, collision, and what's this one? This one sounds fancier. Okay, so we'll go to the player, and we're gonna drop this explosion in there, and then I'm also going to put it on the enemy, because the problem is if I don't do it on the enemy, even though it's not going to take, it'll probably have issues with it'll say, oh, I can't send anything because you never gave me a player sound effect. So we've got to also put it there. There. Okay. So now when they blow up, they should make an explosion sound. Okay. And now they make explosion sounds. Yay. Okay. And that's basically what you're going to do for all of them. We're just literally going to go down the line. I'm not going to do any more because you can get the idea. But you would just want to put that for anything that you want to have a sound. So if you want a different sound, or like when I'm boosting, have a sound for that. But it's basically you're just going to need, once we set up the sound effects manager, this whole bit here, all you have to do is on the individual things themselves, you have to make a variable that will hold the clip that you want to use. And then in Unity, put that clip on there. Then what you're going to want to do is on the start, send it to the sound effects manager by just doing sfx manager.sfx add to pool, and then you have to give it a unique name, that the key, okay, and then you have to give it the clip that you put in there, and then you just tell it to play right here. All right, and all that gets handled right by this little small bit of code here, and then you're pretty much good on that. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else of any super significance that I needed to cover. Let's see. There are, does it tell me how many elements that I have selected? It says 14 and 14. Okay, so that's the same number of scripts. All right, so let's see. Bullet controller. Oh, pickups. I was going to do a pickup script. Let's yeah, I will do that as a separate video. We'll call that good for this one right now.